Good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I would like to welcome you to the Candidates Forum this evening. We are pleased to give you, the voters, this opportunity to get to know the men and women vying for your vote. Our number one goal is the community engagement of informed voters. We are so thankful that you've joined us. The League of Women Voters is an organization that is nonpartisan and volunteer-based. It is organized at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While LWV members do study and take stands on issues, we do not endorse nor support political parties nor candidates. The LWV does encourage its members as individuals, as we encourage each of you, to get involved in your community and the political party of your choice. However, the views expressed in this forum are those of the individual candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters. By sponsoring this forum this evening, the League provides an opportunity for citizen participation and an exposure to the candidates, but again does not provide an endorsement of any candidate or candidates. All viable candidates have been invited to participate this evening. Tonight's forum will be for the City of Maple Grove mayoral and 2 city council seats. In tonight's forum, the candidates will start with their opening statements in which they have 2 minutes to speak. Then our candidates will have up to 1 minute to respond to each of the questions that are coming from the audience. Finally, they will be given 2 minutes for their final statements. Candidates, the League would like to request you to refrain from making any personal attacks on your fellow candidates. I'd like to take this moment to point out our timekeepers for this evening. They will show you when you have 15 seconds to finish your statements, and then they will show you when your time has expired. Please finish your sentences at that time, as I'll be directing the next speaker's turn. The order has been randomly selected. Our ushers are handing out cards and pens as needed for your questions from the audience. Please raise your hand to receive a card for our ushers to collect your questions so that I can ask them to the candidates. Please follow the following guidelines for our partnership. Number 1, the question may not be a personal attack on any candidate. The questions may not have already been asked, although if we get a bunch of the same, we might combine it into the same questions so we don't answer 12 questions about garbage. And number 3, remember to write legibly so we can actually ask your question. For the audience at this time, please remember to turn off or silence all communication devices at this time, and no unauthorized photography will take place during the forum, as it is distracting to our candidates. Remember, CCX is live streaming and broadcasting and rebroadcasting tonight's forum in its entirety, and copies are available upon request to CCX TV. Our candidates this evening are Karen Jager, Christy Janigo, James Robbins, Samba Fall, Rochelle Johnson, Lauren Junis, and Travis Mitchell, who was unable to be here this evening due to work. These are your city council candidates. And Mayor Mark Stephenson is running unopposed, but decided to join the conversation and talk to you about his ideas for the next couple years of being the mayor. Let's go into our first question, which is your opening statements. So we'll start at the beginning with Mr. Samba Fall.
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here. I am an immigrant from West Africa, Senegal, who's been in Minnesota for the last 22 years. I'm a proud American. I'm a father of 4 beautiful children born all in Minnesota. I am a married and a husband. I love Maple Grove, where my wife and I decided to make it home after buying our beautiful home here in Maple Grove. I feel deeply about this community as a member of it and want to see it better under my watch, wants to make sure that every single member of this community is served, and that's the reason why I step up to represent the city of Maple Grove. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Karen Jager.
Good evening. I was born and raised in Minneapolis, and I attended Minneapolis schools. I've been married to my husband, Henry, for 64 years, who recently passed away last April. We have 2 children, 3 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. Formerly owning a business in Minneapolis for 37 years, and as vice president, treasurer, and being well-versed in finance, budgeting, and administrative issues, which are helpful. I've been currently serving on the Maple Grove City Council for the past 24 years and have never missed a meeting, also currently liaison to the Planning and the Lake Quality Commissions. I'm currently Commissioner Treasurer of the Shingle Creek, West Mississippi Watersheds, trustee of the 279 Foundation, and actively supporter of the DARE program by attending all the graduations in 20 years, and a longtime member of the American Legion. Formerly being liaison to the Park Board and Arbor Committee, also graduate of the first Citizens Police Academy, and past member of the Rotary. Thank you.
Ms. Christy Janigo.
Hello, I'm Christy Janigo, and I'm running for Maple Grove City Council. I'm your neighbor who answers the call to service, leads, and works hard for you. As a prior service member of the Army National Guard, I am still serving. I'm a passionate advocate for the needs of military, prior service, and veterans to anyone who will listen. I work full-time in local government, and I've found that whether working for positive outcomes for veterans or better transportation options for our residents, it all comes down to making connections. I've heard about the power of those connections and that local leaders can enact change through great partnerships with residents, nonprofits, and other officials. In my spare time, I cherish involvement in my faith community, where I'm the church council vice president. My husband Chip and I live in one of Maple Grove's townhouse neighborhoods, where I am the treasurer of our HOA board. I served on the city's Arbor Committee, and am a past graduate of the Maple Grove Citizens Police Academy. I have a PhD in design and sustainability and was an academic department chair at a higher education institution. I am active in the Osseo Maple Grove American Legion and the Maple Grove Rotary Club. There is much work to be done in the next 20 years as our city gets closer to being fully built out, and I want to be part of it. I look forward to supporting initiatives our residents care about: safety and security in all neighborhoods, access to nearby parks, green spaces, and natural resources, local employment opportunities, affordable city services and utilities, homeownership, and the chance to age with dignity. I'm Christy Janigo, and I'm asking for your support and your vote.
Thank you. Rochelle Johnson.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Johnson, and I'm running for Maple Grove City Council. I reside in Maple Grove with my husband of 18 years and my 2 teenage children. For the past 8 years, I've been a substitute teacher, working mostly in our Maple Grove elementary schools. I also have a background in finance management with a degree in marketing from the University of Northwestern. Living in Maple Grove over the past 12 years, I've served in many capacities, but my most recent contributions are on the Maple Grove Community Center Task Force, serving on the District Planning Advisory Council, and the Enrollment and Capacity Management Committee for District 279. When not serving on committees, I can usually be found serving at church, volunteering with local organizations, mentoring youth in our community, or taking advantage of our wonderful parks, shopping, and dining options. We have a great city, and that doesn't happen by accident. It takes clear vision, strong collaborative leadership, and common sense solutions. I believe I can bring a well-rounded perspective to complement the work that we are already doing. I'm running to be your voice and seek to represent you with integrity and honesty, seeking to make wise and sound decisions that keep us moving in the right direction on a prosperous economic path while creating a vibrant community with a high quality of life for all of its residents. In closing, I just want to say thank you to Phil Leith for serving on this council since 2007. When Phil announced that he would not be seeking re-election, the opportunity was brought before me to run for the open seat. I never envisioned myself running for an elected office, but I am excited for the opportunity to serve the community in a new way. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Junis.
I'm Lauren Junis. I've been a resident of Maple Grove for 30 years. In our community, I've coached youth sports, played in the church praise band, and taught Sunday school. I grew up on a dairy farm. I attended electronics trade school. I entered the high-tech industry, gained experience in 5 world-leading corporations in their field. I've worked on many types of sophisticated equipment. My specialty is solving technical challenges. I was a key part in developing a $1 billion world-class manufacturing process that helps keep jobs right here in Maple Grove. I am conservative, and I will be your conservative voice from budgeting, oversight, and transparency. I will be an advocate for helping residents better understand the core instruments of our city government via easy access to the data that is driving decisions, such as city plans, how tax assessing really works, public transportation, what is behind some of the decisions made, the Metropolitan Council, how much power do they really have over our local city decisions, This energy will help engage more residents to connect with city government, amplifying feedback for improved local government overall. An informed voter is a powerful voter. Thank you.
James Robbins.
Sorry about that. My education, I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with an emphasis on public safety, and then I completed my Juris Doctorate at St. Thomas. I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to public service. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17. During my service, I supported humanitarian missions in Thailand, deployed to the Middle East, an instructor for new service members, teaching them ethics, leadership, and technical skills. I took a 1-year break after the service, and I was a contractor for Honeywell. Went overseas with supported the Department of Defense mission while I lived in Kuwait for a year. After I completed that service, I continued to join. I rejoined the military with the Minnesota National Guard as a judge advocate, where I was advised, and I continue to advise senior military leaders on issues regarding soldiers, military justice, call to actions when they come to support the community for different functions. I continued to serve the community as a prosecutor and a public defender in kind of my civilian capacity, as an adjunct professor at St. Cloud State University, and I now run a law firm in Maple Grove that serves the community in several different legal areas. I used to live west of the cities, and I fell in love with Maple Grove when I would take my children to the community center. And then that had us going to the shops and towns and enjoying the park, and now I live probably a stone throw from Elm Creek Park, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't ask for a better spot. So I really enjoy all the things the park has to offer, and I'm looking forward to serving the community and having the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mark Stephenson.
Thank you. And thank you to the League for having this here tonight. I am Mark Stephenson, and I want to thank the citizens of Maple Grove. You've allowed me to serve you for the last 21 years as mayor. During that time, we've made incredible progress throughout the community and growth throughout the community. We've all seen the city grow in ways that I think nearly everyone thinks is wonderful and great. We do have a great community. Money Magazine, a number of years ago, listed us as the second best community to live in the United States. It's quite an accomplishment from where we started decades ago, but I think that thanks to the planning, thanks to the staff we have, thanks to my fellow city council members, we've made this city a great place to live. And my expectation and my desire over the next 4 years is to continue that growth, to continue growing our city in a way that makes it better and better as we go. We're bringing in big, new med tech jobs. We have new med tech companies. They're bringing wonderful new jobs to our city. We have beautiful parks. We have the most beautiful park system you could hope to have. And we'll continue to grow that throughout the next few years with your help and with your guidance. And one of the things I want to certainly address here as well is that we have a need in our community to update and modify our Maple Grove Community Center. Certainly that is an option that we have on the agenda of the election in the fall, and through the local option sales tax that we have on the election in the fall, we will be able to not only improve our community center, but do so in a way that affects taxpayers in the least way possible. So hopefully that, in my opinion, will pass in the fall, and we'll see a better and better community center to go with our great community that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let you expand on that in a future question. We are now going to move to the questions in which you have 1 minute to answer all of the issues that are coming at you. So they'll be ready for you. Let's start off with, are there environmental or climate change challenges that you think Maple Grove should be addressing now? Our first responder will be Karen Jager. Your microphone's not on.
I think we have already reached most of those now, and we'll go forward with anything else that we have with our community center. They will be all the new green environmental way. We have our wind turbine. We have many things that are environmentally in Maple Grove.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, sustainability efforts in Maple Grove, I think we've done it well. I think we've done it wise. A lot of these upgrades are very expensive and they do cost money. So change just for the sake of change isn't something that we advocate for. And so I think that a lot of the sustainability measures that we've implemented, we do them in time and we do them responsibly and we do them on a schedule for when maybe maintenance needs to be done or as we can incorporate those into future developments. And as we look to redevelopment, then we can address a lot of those types of issues then. I know a lot of times things can kind of get a little bit, we're doing them just for the sake of doing them, and we're not doing them for actually to make an impact. So that's something that we, that I think our city leaders have done a good job at of making sure that we're not doing things just for the sake of doing things. Thank you.
Mr. Robbins?
You know, I think it's important to constantly monitor, you know, our lakes and bodies of water in the area, testing the rain to make sure that, you know, the rain that's coming down doesn't have any kind of, you know, minerals or pollutions in it that can negatively affect kind of the community. Keeping updated on invasive species that could come through the city and affect kind of the natures and parks, and ensuring we're not contributing to the problem. You know, I see like kind of the mosquito truck drive through and on the road, and I just would like to make sure that we're not causing, or what is our solution creating for a problem in the future? Thank you.
Mr. Stephenson?
Thank you. I think that we as a community have done a wonderful job at addressing a number of these issues. I'm sure that most of you in this room don't realize or know that this facility here tonight is heated through a geothermal heating system. We were one of the first ones to do that over 25 years ago. We received criticism at the time for doing that. The beauty of that is it not only is it a great system from an environmental standpoint, but it's to save the cities actually millions of dollars over the years in costs because of the savings that has happened. We've done the same thing now with solar panels that we're putting on a number of buildings or a number of places throughout the city. We worked with Great River Energy to build the first platinum LEEDs building in Minnesota here in Maple Grove. Obviously you see the windmill, but there's a number of other environmental methods that they've used. And we've worked together to make sure that the lakes are the best they can be. We have some challenges in this community in that fashion, and we need to continue to work on them.
Ms. Janigo?
Yes, thank you. In my PhD studies, I researched sustainability in a wide range of sectors, industries, and public policy domains. I want to protect the quality of our bodies of water, especially the shallower ones, which consistently receive poor water quality ratings. I want to see our city continue to add alternative energy sources, such as wind and solar, to the grid. And I'd like to see mass transit options expanded as we come back to normal operations from COVID. I think we should look at having additional biking and walking options so that we can promote multimodal transportation within our city. I also support engaging residents in these efforts. There have been several grassroots organizations that have kind of cropped up with a lot of energy, and residents can be part of the solutions, whether it be working on helping our shorelines be cleaner or planting rain gardens or some other solution in our city. And then the tree forest preservation area, there's some of my favorite places in the city, and I'd like to see those permanently protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Junis?
Yeah, climate has become a big deal pretty much everywhere in the world, but you know, population puts a lot of stress on the environment. You know, back in the 70s there was maybe less population, but yet people were a lot reckless with environmentalism, dumping oil everywhere, and so we've came a long way. But you know, taking climate over the top, you know, if it's organic, it seems natural, it makes sense. I think that's what we should do. You know, pushing, you know, everyone needs an electric car, but if you look at what it takes to make that electric car and the amount of ore it takes just to make the batteries, you know, it doesn't always make sense. So I think there's a lot of things that are being pushed to be green unnecessarily, but if we let green happen in a natural, organic way, I think it'll happen organically. Just like I didn't know, but this was a geothermal building, which is organic way, so, yeah.
As the leader of the African Immigrant Farmers Alliance, as well as the president of the Senegalese American Chamber of Commerce, climate and sustainability is no longer a debate. It is a must. And for us, I believe here in the city of Maple Grove, it's really, really overdeveloped in a sense that we need to get our children and our community outdoors. We have great bodies of water. Recently, we just had the future of well-being, and if the world were to die tomorrow, this place would be the least place where people would be living because of the amount of water we have around. So sustainability is not for me a way to spend a lot of money. Economically, we need to be looking at how do we engage our population, our Maple Grove residents and children, to be more outdoors and be humans. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question. What change in Maple Grove should be the #1 priority for the City Council or Mayor? First responder will be Mr. Robbins.
So for change, I think, the recent changes with the police force of Maple Grove, ensuring that they've got competitive pay and it's towards the top tier is awesome. And I think that that's something that we need to continue to develop as a change, because as some of the crime in Minneapolis has kind of trickled this way, and also with increased population comes in with increased public safety, making the police force a competitive place where people want to be. People don't want to be police officers anymore. No one wants to come to the call because it's dangerous and it's a thankless job. And so finding ways to increase training, support, and ensuring that this is one of the best places to serve on the police force in Minnesota is something that I think is a must. Thank you.
Mr. Junis?
Yeah, I think the #1, Maple Grove has done such a wonderful job, right? So you kind of pick out things that you see could be improved. And I just think one of the things for me is increasing citizen engagement. And I think that comes through transparency. For example, I attended the tax assessment petition, and they handed out this Maple Grove 22 assessment summary. So I went to the website at the time, and I couldn't find it on the website, and it's a very important document. And so I'm really about getting more information to the citizens and the residents so they become more engaged. And I just think that would be a wonderful thing. I think this room could be filled if we had more citizen engagement through more transparency and communication in that way. That's kind of my #1 thing.
Mr. Stephenson?
I think the #1 change that we have to do is to continue to grow the community in a way that makes sense for the community as a whole. I think that we have to continue to grow the community in the downtown area. We have to continue to bring in good, solid businesses that bring good, solid jobs to our community. We need those med tech industry jobs that the city has generated, and if we continue to do so, our citizens will have a very good way to seek employment, have employment, and continue to live here in a way that they want to live. I think that is a continuing change. I don't think I can point to a significant item that we as a city council need to specifically change.
Ms. Jagger? Microphone?
I think that we have to, #1 is take care of our police department. And we've done that recently as we've given them all raises, promotions, take care of our fire department too. And also in how we're building new developments that are coming in, if we are doing them in a right way, not just taking anything, being sure that everything is working for everybody. I can't see your thing that you hold up there for minutes. It's hidden behind there.
Yeah, there's a podium there.
So I don't know how much time I have, so.
You're okay.
Okay. And I just think that as a whole city, we just have to be careful of like I said, our planning, where we're going, and we're going in the right direction now, and I hope that we will keep it that way. And as the mayor did say that a few years ago, we were voted as the second best city in the state.
Thank you.
So we want to keep it that way.
Thank you. Mr. Fall. Microphone.
Thank you. It is obvious that the city is not relevant with regards to people of other races other than Caucasians. I would say, as a member of the BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color, residing in Maple Grove, it is extremely important to support the continuous growth of new businesses in Maple Grove, including the support of establishment of more female and minority-owned businesses. It is a must. I believe that we need to improve our park and recreational venues available to all city at large. Yes, we are a weak city in a sense that our government is not taking too much to expand its reach. Maple Grove needs to have a better communication to improve the relationship of citizens and police, as definitely it echoes everywhere throughout the nation. Police officers are humans, and they have a duty to serve and protect each community. Maple Grove should not be left alone. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson.
In the most recent community survey, 91% of residents said that they are happy with Maple Grove. So I think using the word change implies a pivot or a turn, and I think we're on the right direction. There's definitely things that we need to continue to address as they make themselves known. Out talking with residents, some of the main things that residents are talking to me about is traffic safety is a big one that I know that the council has talked about a little bit, but continuing to assess traffic-related incidences is a big one for as we move throughout and as we continue to grow out and as we move throughout the city, we're having more people. Public safety, obviously, is a big one that we need to continue prioritizing. And also the rental moratorium expiring this next year seems to be on residents' minds as well with where we're gonna go moving forward with that. Thank you.
And Ms. Janigo.
I think responsibly managing growth going into the future is going to be important. We're about 80 to 85% developed, so we're going to be getting pretty fully developed pretty soon. We have pickleball courts, but we still don't have a curling club. In seriousness, though, I want to see growth in small local businesses, so additional commercial developments with smaller spaces can keep their overhead costs low, placement near residential neighborhoods, and prominent storefronts to drive traffic. I think we need to have constant and open communication with the school district and take care of, as we start to grow more neighborhoods, make sure that we're communicating so that the kids have places to go to school. But we're also still seeing massive demand for apartments and townhouses in our community. So we need to really ensure appropriate investment in our roads and infrastructures. This will be a critical issue, keeping up our infrastructure while new development is coming in. So keeping those parks and green spaces and having the proper roads to get to and from our locations within the city. Thank you.
All right, our next question that was literally in my hand for the past couple of minutes tails off of her answer. In general, do you support or oppose further development of high-density housing in Maple Grove? First responder will be, I guess you get to extend, coincidence again, Ms. Janigo.
I think we need every type of housing product in our city. The demand is so great, and in talking with local realtors, I am hearing a need for apartments, townhouses, and single-family homes. I think we've seen the more modest-sized single-family home product slowing down, and I think that's an issue because that would be a great thing for first-time home buyers, young families, and seniors to move into. So yes, I do think we need a little bit of everything because as someone comes here to Maple Grove to rent, maybe that's how they get to our city, but then they also need to be able to move up to that next thing, maybe that small single-level home, and then over time move up to other types of housing too. So, thank you.
Mr. Stephenson?
I would say that we need to continue forward on our plans as we've laid it out. We spent a lot of time over the last 20 years developing a plan on how we're going to develop this city, and it's worked very well for us. There are a lot of different high-density type housing projects. For instance, one area that we know we need more high-density product for is senior citizens, and also senior citizens who have a need for affordable housing. We are trying to address that. We are bringing a new senior housing, affordable housing, high-density development to our community in the very near future. It's been approved by us as a city council. So that's the type of high-density unit that I think that we as a city are proud of. We have a very similar product across the street here. It's a product that no one would know is an affordable housing project for seniors. And so sometimes when people talk about high-density housing, they have to understand there's different types of high-density housing, and we do need to continue to have some types.
Mr. Fall.
It is very important to keep Maple Grove the way it is. If we really want to live in a big city, we will go to Minneapolis, go to other areas. I really like the green spaces and the whitening of the city. We definitely do need to increase ways in which people can get into homes. As I echo to other members of this board, definitely senior or elders do need a place to reside. Therefore, we need to get younger communities, younger families to get into those homes. It costs a lot of money for a lot of Maple Grove residents to see their lots being reduced where they really need to have green spaces. So I believe affordable to what extent, affordable for whom. I really like to see Maple Grove striving. I really need to see the community of Maple Grove really enjoying their city versus big corporation coming in to take chunk of our lands. Thank you.
Mr. Robbins.
So I would support what's going on in Maple Grove. I think the variation of the density housing is important. It creates inclusion. Different types of housing brings in different types of people, and that creates diversity, and that's important for us as a city. There's benefits to high-density housing. It creates and promotes more businesses. Businesses have models, and they look at how many people are in a certain area, and they choose to put their business in certain locations based on the volume of people and what kind of people they're serving. So I think that adds value to the city for economic growth, jobs, and overall being for the development of the city. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of care that has gone into our 2040 development plan, and a lot of those high-density areas have been established. Moving forward, I think that I agree with a lot of the sentiments that are up here. I think that we should be focusing on a lot more of the senior high-density housing. I think that there's just more of a need for that. It makes me kind of wonder as well, as we move forward, what are we gonna do to make sure that these high-density housing areas age well, that they stay occupied? I know that there's a need for them now, but moving forward in 10 to 20 years, what is that gonna look like for our city? We've all been to cities where they have unoccupied large apartment buildings. And so what are we gonna do to make sure that we can keep the occupancy up for these high density properties in the future, and that we can keep them looking the way that they should be looking? Thank you.
Ms. Jagger.
Well, it's very interesting.
Microphone.
Very interesting that 24 years ago, our city was at mostly called a NIMBY city. They didn't want affordable housing in the city at that time. Things have changed. You go forward 24 years now, and we've grown from 20,000 city to 70,000, and we have our new hospitals. We have so much growth that we have in our city, and we do have the Met Council are the ones that dictate to the cities of what you have to have for affordable housing and densities. Right now, we're working on a development that has us in quite a quandary. They want to put in 50-foot lots, which the city prefers to have 65 or 60. But times have changed. The young people today, they don't want big yards, pools, like the people do today. So there's going to be some changes made, and whether we like it or not, it's coming.
Thank you. Mr. Junis.
Yeah, I'm not sure where all this high-density living is coming from. It seems to be every community, every city, all around. So there seems to be a nationwide push to convince the population to accept rental rather than private ownership. I think that's the scary part. And with a 30% increase in rental license in the last 2 years just in Maple Grove, so you add the rental licenses and then you add the high density, you're really turning your city into a rental property, so to speak. I'd support more the 1,200 square foot Rambler. You can get more housing in the area. It's probably one of the most livable homes in the metro area. They're all over, they're still desirable. You're gonna pay much less based on square footage. You know, if it's $250 a square foot these days, it's gonna be a lot cheaper for 1,200 square foot than a 2,500 square foot. So do I support high density housing? Maybe very carefully, yeah.
All right. Next question. Do you support the contract with Osseo School District 279 to provide school resource officers to the district? Why or why not? First responder will be Ms. Johnson.
Yes, I do. Being that I have 2 kids in our district, I work in our schools. I see the benefit of SROs in our schools every day. I see them interacting with the kids, building relationships with the kids in school. The kids in the middle schools and the high schools absolutely adore the SROs that are there. They make a huge difference, and we are thankful for their service, and we are lucky to have them in our schools. Thank you.
Mr. Fall?
100%. As a leader of a nonprofit organization, Multicultural Kids Network, and as a parent who have 2 children in the district, having worked for many, many schools throughout the state, I see the need for those SROs in these schools. The reason being safety. Many of our children could not even be controlled by us parents. Why do we want to see the burden on these teachers to have to deal with them? Having an SROs in schools that is really trained in mental health or social services needs would definitely help our schools and help our children attend to the declining academy that right now they're suffering. I 100% support SROs in schools, and yeah, that's where I stand.
Mr. Junis?
You know, I can't say I know a lot about that. I grew up in a whole different time. My children grew up in a different environment, obviously, where I don't believe that was even necessary. So I guess if it's necessary, it's necessary. That's about what I would say with that.
Ms. Jagger?
Yes, I must say that about a year or so ago, the school board, 279 school board, were contemplating taking out our officers from the schools. We did have a big meeting with them. Our officers were over there at the schools talking. I watched it over it was a forum, and at that time they said no, they didn't want any in the schools, but now they've changed their mind. Well, we've had shootings in the schools and so forth. The school has 2 referendums that are coming up that you will be voting on, and one of them is school safety and security. And that's all.
Mr. Robbins?
I think SROs in schools and these contracts is fantastic. It's these specific officers have unique training that relates to what their jobs are, and that knowledge is passed on. We're not just placing a random officer that the baton is passed to anybody. These people are specifically assigned to these roles and have that training. I think it's great because people grow up with a positive influence of the police around them while they're growing up in school. I remember mine as I would go through school. He'd stand out the front door and give everybody high fives as you would come in, and you were like, "Hey, Officer Veed." He was the fun, go-to guy that you could feel you could approach him, ask questions, and he made everyone feel safe. So I think it's important on a multitude of areas, but I think we really benefit from that. Thank you.
Ms. Janigo?
Yes, I support it. I've met several of our SROs at Citizens Police Academy, and I know they love their jobs. I support them as I do every first responder. It takes courage to run toward danger against your survival instincts. Our SROs are seen by many as part of the school staff. They fulfill many duties at schools, including being a listening ear to students who they've established relationships with, tending to a mental health emergency, offering educational programs to prevent crime and promote safety, and being there in the worst situation imaginable, a school shooting. But we need to understand that in a school district made up of 60% BIPOC students, some may struggle with their experience with the presence of an armed officer, even in one in plain clothes. I've been talking for years about the work that's needed to diversify our city staff and public safety departments, and we've made some great progress there. It can really help to have someone who looks like you to respond to assist you on the worst day of your life. Thank you.
And Mr. Stephenson.
I 100% support the program. It's something that's necessary for our schools. Our police officers do a great job in the schools. They create relationships that are helpful to interacting with the kids and with the school teachers and principals. We have to maintain the program. We have to continue the program. It's really necessary for our school district to continue the program as well.
Thank you. Our next question. What do you see as the city's role in assisting small businesses and women and minority-owned businesses and businesses of Maple Grove residences? Mr. Junis.
Well, again, I'd go back to the organic growth. People want to start a small business in Maple Grove. I think it all comes down to taxes. You know, people may want to start a small business in Maple Grove, but you know, what is your tax situation? You have to sell a lot of clothes to even just pay your rent. You know, unless you get some tax subsidies and things like that. So I think the best you can do to support small business is keep your tax base low. You know, speaking of taxes of small business, you know, people complain about their rent going up, but you got to look at the tax went up. So the landlord's not taking more rent, it's your tax. And so somehow you have to support the tax base for small businesses. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to succeed.
Mr. Robbins?
I think the city can be involved by collaborating with federal grants and minority business development agencies and figuring out kind of what that information is and what's available, and then pushing that out. And so women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses that want to seek here as a place, you know, there's a lot of tools that we can leverage rather than just expend a bunch of resources. I know no one likes additional taxes, but there's resources out there that we can take advantage of, and that can help grow the community and also make it diverse. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I think the city's role in assisting businesses would be to create an environment for them to thrive. Attracting tourism efforts like Experience Maple Grove that we're kind of undertaking now, anything that we can do to drive business to Maple Grove. We are the second largest retail hub per capita in the Twin Cities area next to Bloomington. So what we need to do to support our businesses here is to not hinder them in any way by what you were saying is by keeping our taxes in check, and also encouraging growth. And the more that we encourage growth, the more that opportunities that we can have to bring people here, the better off that our businesses will be. Thank you.
Ms. Janico?
I think that it would help to set up a small business advisory board for just our Maple Grove business owners with monthly meetings to discuss current issues and mentoring and educational opportunities to foster success. Establishing one-on-one relationships with business owners is important for city staff and leaders, so owners feel comfortable reaching out with their needs. There are county programs. Elevate Business is one that comes to mind. There are programs through DEED that could help businesses with technical assistances and applying for different grants. But also, I think city leadership can take a role in promoting local businesses. So local leaders have a following on Facebook or other social media, and they can lead by example and patronize local businesses, buy local goods and services. I think our Maple Grove Biz page also is a great tool to showcase who's here, as well as new businesses that might be coming in. And then showing up where business owners are, like the Business Network International or the Twin West Chambers. And I'm also a very active member of the Rotary Maple Grove Club, where there are many entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Mr. Stephenson?
I think that we already do help businesses in our community. We have specific employees on our staff who are really designed and function to support large businesses and small businesses to make sure that they're using all the various different grant opportunities, the state opportunities, the federal opportunities. We've seen businesses bring substantial new employment to our city through having those different grants through the state, different type of programs, the MIF program, other programs, so that we give them essentially a grant, and then it goes away when they create the jobs that they need to create. So I think that that's something that we need to continue to do, because we already do it and it works out great for our community. And I think that we as a community need to continue to be active. Obviously the I-94 chamber is a very good source of local businesses and their interactions, and it'll continue that way. Thank you.
Mr. Fall?
Thank you very much. I believe socioeconomic development is more than ever important now after the pandemic that has incapacitated many of our 22.7 BIPOC, Black Indigenous people of color in Maple Grove. You don't see any business that look like them. Although they are hardworking individuals, hardworking US citizens, I have seen that firsthand myself as a business owner of Falah Health, Lukuraj Staffing, many nonprofit organizations, one of which is features in Maple Grove Growing Together, where I want to make sure that I'm offering to my local community some pathway to get out of it. I believe supporting local businesses, doing some pop-ups to see in Maple Grove who are the business owners that are laying down, it will be very helpful for the city to take a look and see ways in which those would be looked in-house versus the big Fortune 500s that we have many of in the city of Maple Grove. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Jagger?
I think the main thing we can do is work with the businesses and keep their taxes down. Myself, when I'm in the business in Maple Grove, I always ask them how are they doing, and what can we do to help you, and so forth. The chamber has grand openings when new stores are opening, which is nice. The council all goes along with them, and the Rotary and the Lions, they're certainly helpful. When I hear that different restaurants in town are opening a second one in Maple Grove, I think, well, that's really great that you can put one in the south, put one in the north. And but what just upset me more, I think, yesterday when I heard a new business, one of our businesses in Maple Grove is closing, Broadway Pizza. So if you want a good pizza, you better go out and get it now, because it isn't going to be there much longer.
Okay, our next question, not far from that line. What is your opinion or position regarding lost local option sales tax? First responder is Mr. Stephenson.
The local option sales tax is a referendum that's on the fall election ballot in November for the city of Maple Grove. It's designed to create a mechanism whereby those who visit the Maple Grove Community Center, mainly those who are from outside the community, in fact, will pay a significant portion of the costs of the remodeling of the Maple Grove Community Center. Essentially what it does is it allows for this large project where we have to do significant remodeling to our community center because it's 25 years old. It allows us as citizens to have someone else pay for it. The best math example I can give is it's going to cost, let's say, $100 million to do this project. If it doesn't pass, you're going to have that $100 million on your property taxes. If you vote yes and it passes in the fall, you're going to have $45 million on your property taxes and $55 million paid by people from outside the city. It's really a 45-55 split or 100% that you're going to pay. So if you vote yes,
thank you.
It's good for your budget.
Ms. Janigo.
Recently, we've seen several nearby suburbs use local option sales taxes to fund infrastructure projects. I'll likely be voting in favor of the local option sales tax as a resident on the November 8th ballot. I feel the community center is the venue to fulfill many important services. Park and rec programming at the teen center addresses needs for our youth, keeps them out of trouble, helps them stay on track with their development, and learning how to be responsible citizens. This is part of public safety. For our elders, the programming offered within the senior center keeps their minds sharp and active and maintains strong social connections that support their overall health. I've been listening to residents at doors and taking their feedback into consideration. Some felt there wasn't enough community engagement to plan the project and ways to finance it. Some said they don't use the community center, so they don't want to contribute to pay for it. Overall, though, it's clear to me that people value this as a community resource. I will be interested to see how people decide on November 8th. Thank you.
Ms. Jager.
This is quite a controversial one. 25 years ago, when the city first brought it up to have a community center, it was voted down. We don't need it. Well, obviously, we did, but the city found a way to get some money, and we built it. And now, 25 years later, we have to expand it, repurpose it, and that's what's coming up now. It's a time for Maple Grove residents to decide how to invest in our community center so that it can continue to serve our rapidly growing and diversified community. Since the opening in 1997, the center has been bringing people together, participating in program activities, enjoying events, shows, and expos, celebrating special occasions and milestones, and so much more.
Mr. Junis.
Well, I guess what I heard that it's going to happen either way. So I guess that's part of the transparency that I did not understand, that either having it on the ballot is fine, let the residents decide. But if they decide no, then they're going to pay for all of it, I guess. So, yeah, that was a little surprising for me. I went to the council or the little meeting over there, and I don't know what all the plans were, but a thing was brought up that you could build a brand new building for $116 million with all the facilities and leave that alone and give that a little upgrade. So I don't know all that was involved in the planning on that, if there were better options, but I certainly did hear other options that sounded pretty enlightening. So I guess we're getting the community center.
Mr. Fall.
Thank you. Definitely, I would say 100% as a Maple Grove resident, I will vote for the local option sales tax. I have a 1 pound 7 ounces daughter born in born in Minnesota. While I was living in Brooklyn Park, I found myself coming to Maple Grove and use this community center. Today, she's 14 years old of age with disability, but I cannot go to the community center and do any activity. I have to take it to Plymouth. And for her to use the Armstead activities, this is very, very urgent for us to do it. As a resident of this as a resident of this city, I believe the community center needs to be expanded, not only for the sake of expansion, but also to allow other community members to bring in part of their cultural values that needs to be shared by all. So I do definitely support the the local option sales tax, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And Mr. Robbins?
Being part of the I-94 Chamber of Commerce, I was fortunate enough to get a brief on this, and so I got to kind of soak in all the information and take it for table. So it's basically you get to increase the taxes for 0.5% in order to fund projects, and the city has that authority. And it's something that's needed. And so it allows the current leadership to put something on the ballot to create the lowest burden on the citizen in order to make an improvement that's going to have a benefit for everyone involved. And being someone who was brought here because of that center, and because I fell in love with the city from coming here, I'm biased because my kids love it and I want to see it improved, and I want to see that it be developed to continue to serve the city. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson.
Reinvestment in the community center is necessary. The extent of the project and how it's going to be paid for is now what's up to the residents. Being on the community center working group, this is a very, very carefully planned project. They have been doing research into the community center and what residents' needs and wants are for the community center for years. This is not something that was just done where it's just like, well, let's just redo the community center. This is a carefully planned project. They have brought experts in there. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. So the extent of the project and how it's going to be paid for is what's up for residents to decide. Whether we are going to do just the necessary maintenance that needs to be done, that will have to be done regardless, like all capital investments, or whether we're going to use this opportunity to expand the community center, which promotes tourism, which grows our economy. It allows us to offer more services to our residents. It's something that is vital in our community. Thank you.
Our next question. Where do you stand on keeping the Maple Grove Planned Parenthood open and properly funded? First responder is Ms. Jagger.
I wasn't aware we had a Planned Parenthood.
And we do, so what's your position on that?
I don't have one.
Okay. Next responder, Ms. Janigo.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Fall?
Yes.
Mr. Junis?
I didn't know we had that here either. As we know, we've seen all the commercials on TV. It's a touchy subject. It all depends on who you are and what your situation is. So, you know, I don't really know. I don't think the city could close to vote it, or if they could, or if they would. I don't know why they would. I don't know if they would use those powers to do that, or what the basis would be based on state law. So it's probably a bigger question than the city council, actually.
Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'm not really sure how it's relevant to the work that city council does. So I really don't have an opinion. Thank you.
Well, I don't think the city has a right to close it. I think there's a unfortunate misunderstanding in the state right now about the ability of any public official, any elected official, to change the abortion laws in Minnesota. The Minnesota Supreme Court a couple decades ago declared that a woman has a right to have an abortion in this state at any time. And that will stay in that fashion up until the Supreme Court says otherwise. And that's not going to happen in my lifetime, so I don't see how the question's really relevant to our city.
Mr. Robbins, and then I did get a clarification from the audience question. Go ahead.
I don't think I could have put it in better words than the mayor, so I would agree with that statement, and I don't have anything to add.
Okay. I believe the clarification is located in Brooklyn Park, but then it is used probably by many Maple Grove residents. Just wanted to clarify that. All right, our next question. Oh, let's see. The ever popular, do you support moving to a ward system in Maple Grove so that there's greater representation in parts of Maple Grove? First responder is Mr. Stephenson.
No, I don't. I haven't supported that in a long time. I think there's a misnomer in the question that there's greater representation by having a ward system. I think as we've looked at neighboring communities, that in fact results in one ward being pitted against another, and the council members then represent their wards in a fashion that is harmful to the city. So I don't support a ward system, not especially with the city still continuing to grow in the fashion that it grows. I think the council members have an obligation to represent the entire city as we continue to see exponential growth throughout the community.
Mr. Robbins?
I would say if it's not broke, don't fix it. Everything that has been occurring, the council members and the way that the current city government has been operating, I think is fantastic. And there's obviously room for growth, room for professional development, and ways to impact the community in greater ways. But I don't think a ward system is the proper way to move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Junis?
Yeah, I agree with the mayor. First I heard of this ward system was 2010. I think it's been around since that long. I think the status quo is the correct direction.
Ms. Johnson?
No, I do not support the ward system. We are one city of Maple Grove, and we are better when we are together. And as city council members, we are to bring people together. So I don't see usually what accompanies a ward system is you will not see 6 people or 4 people up here on the panel. You will see 15 to 25 people up here on the panel. So all just trying to represent the small group of people that have elected them to that point. I don't agree with that. I think that we are better when we are together. We are one city, and we can all elect people who represent us, and hopefully you find someone here today that is could speak for you and represent you.
Ms. Janigo?
I do support a ward system, and I have for years. I also think that our council might be a little bit too small for the size of our city. I would be interested in learning more about a city council that's 7 members rather than 5. There are many cities that are a lot smaller than us that are already broken up into wards that have 7-member councils. As I have been door knocking this city, I have spent so much time doing it that I have a lot more muscle tone on my legs than I had before. My point with that is that it takes a lot of effort and time to get around to the entire city, and it's very important to know the variety of the neighborhoods. We have just a vast difference in income level in certain neighborhoods. You have different interests, you have a different racial makeup of neighborhoods, and we need representation. And I fear that we'll never get there with the 5-person council, all of them at large. It is extremely expensive to campaign to the entire city as well. So you've got to ask yourself, is it democratic? Because you need to bring lots of time, money, and effort into this, where it might be more democratic for someone to campaign in a ward system city.
Thank you. Ms. Jagger?
I do not support a ward system. Through the years, when somebody calls and they have a problem, I will, if they call me, I will call another council member and get as many as I can together, including the mayor, and go out and talk to them. I'd rather have all the council on my side than just one. It's just that's the way it is.
And Mr. Fall?
I do support an award system. Definitely the city of Maple Grove had grown now. We are no longer just one face. We have many, many diverse faces in Maple Grove. This weekend, I door knocked over 2,000 homes in Maple Grove, and definitely the diversity is here boiling, smelling. We do need to have, why not, a human rights commission, not only to look on the negative side of it, but to applaud those who have uplifted their head, not to be Republican, Democrat, or Independent. I am here to challenge that, and definitely I would like to, in my city, to recognize those who would open doors to make the other person around, those who would allow, those who have the good heart to really embrace everybody in a city that is ever changing. Thank you.
Moving back to a little bit of the environment, and I'm just adding a little bit onto this person's question. So aside from your building projects that you've been all involved in, so we already know about that, what can Maple Grove government do to empower individual residents to be more sustainable, support climate change, and I'm going to add on, improve our water quality? First responder will be Mr. Fall.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. I believe sustainability is no longer, like I said previously, it's not a debate anymore. This entire world is changing, and the human beings are changing. Most importantly, our children. They are more being now device children than they are outdoors. Take a look and see your children. Would they be able to spend 3 hours outdoors? In Maple Grove, we have great parks. We have great trails. Walk in there by 5 p.m. You don't see no children, no women. So definitely we do need to spend more on what we had already spent as a city. This city of Maple Grove has spent a lot of money in its public work, maintaining their green spaces, our great quality of lakes. I know, like I previously said, we are overdeveloped. For somebody who comes from Africa, I know what it takes to get to where we are. We are way far advanced, and we should not be diving into spending more of the city resources. It is time to get our community engaged and love what we already have. Thank you.
Ms. Jager?
Would you repeat the question?
Yep. What can Maple Grove do, other than our own buildings that we've talked about, do to empower individual residents, like your voters, to become more sustainable, support the climate change, and I'm going to say protect water quality?
The water quality, we have watersheds. We have 3 watersheds in Maple Grove, and they're doing a very good job of what we can. We do have a few lakes, if this is what you're going for, that are they're on the bad list. Eurasian water millfill is really bad right now in our lakes. We haven't had enough water we have enough actually rain to keep our lakes clean. Rice Lake has been drawn down several times, and it did work, except right now it's dog days out there and it smells terrible.
Okay. Ms. Janigo?
Yes, I think there's a lot we can do to empower our residents. So I've been in touch with a group called Maple Grove Citizens for Sustainability, and they have a lot of ideas and energy around grassroots efforts to do this. So I did hold a webinar with folks from that group not too long ago. I was also joined by people who were promoting community gardens. And so it was a great discussion on what residents can do to be effective in supporting water quality in our city. I was on a boat tour recently on Lake Minnetonka, and I saw several homeowners had decided to plant rain gardens along their shoreline. Those rain gardens can help with infiltration and prevent whatever's running off from their lawns from going directly down into the lake. I would also like to encourage residents to join watershed boards. There are so many other programs, Adopt a Drain. You can apply for Good Steward grants through the county, and Lawns to Legumes program at the state level. And our Parks and Rec can definitely support educational experiences, and I think that would definitely help support our residents to become.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, in talking about what the city can do, really the city can educate its residents, offer services to make it more readily available to participate in those types of sustainable efforts, or financially incentivize people. So educating people, offering services potentially for like our recycling service, doing yard cleanups, different things like that that the city offers, and really to educate. And just because the city isn't doing it doesn't mean that it couldn't or shouldn't be done. It's just thinking about what is the role of the city and for all of the residents here. Is this something that the city is responsible for? And maybe it is. I'm not really sure. But thinking about anytime the city does something, it does cost money. So what are we looking at in terms of moving forward with this? And but it doesn't cost to educate, it doesn't cost to offer services, and financially incentivize people to do a lot of those things. Thank you.
Mr. Junis?
Yeah, first of all, I don't believe any of this climate change stuff. I just don't. I look at the temperatures from 100 years ago on a specific day. 100 years later, you're within 1 degree. Unless the earth is wobbling, I'm just not buying into it. But I would work the system backwards. I'd look at the sewer and water, and let's take a chemical analysis, what's going down the drains, first of all. Then we would know what we're working with or what residents are putting down their drains. That would be a first step. Also, check what's going into the runoffs, into the ponds and the lakes. Do chemical analysis on that. And then let's bring that information back to the residents. And people are willing to do the right thing. They really are. And they will take the right actions, but they got to have the information. And the other thing is the chloride, the salt. I know we all complain when the roads are icy, but there is a lot of chloride runoff around the whole metro area. And I'm not sure what the chloride numbers are in Maple Grove and runoff, but certainly that'd be a good start.
Thank you. Mr. Robbins?
I think we can now empower the people of Maple Grove by promoting them to read the website and the content that's put out. I've been going through the website over the past year, and there's a lot of content on there. There's information about lakes, water quality, how to recycle, different things to do with your yard waste, what's going on. You can read all the content that's available right now and evaluate your own life and your habits and see how you can make changes to positively affect the community. There is so much information available, I can't even read it all, and I feel almost that I need a good week to sit down and go through all the content because there's so much information, and I feel like if we could just hand everyone a Post-it note that says, go to the website, educate yourself, that would do more than a lot of the efforts that other cities have done. Thank you.
Mr. Stephenson.
I think one of the things we can continue to do is work together with our local lake associations. We have associations with each lake. We as a city have worked with them historically to try and help them, whether it's with Eurasian milfoil, curly pond leaf, other types of invasive species, to try and help them. And also help them when we redevelop the neighborhoods. We redeveloped the sewer systems, the water systems, so that there was not the same type of water flowage into the lake that was polluting our leaks. We've taken those positive steps. Last summer, we put into effect a watering alternate day system. What it has done this summer is that even though we had the same system in effect this year, it saves about 7 million gallons a day of water that we don't have to pump as a city. I think it's a remarkable advancement for our city, and it's those type of things that we can help and continue to do as a city that make this a better place to live for our citizens.
Okay, last one we're going to do before your final statements, because we've kind of hit some of the same topics. How will the council support the MGCO in the future? First responder will be Ms. Jagger. I'm assuming community organization?
Maple Grove Community
Yes, thank you.
Organization.
Community organization. I've been stuck in schools for a while.
That's good. What we use them for is if there's something that we need special that the city council doesn't want to go out and do, and they will go out and check everything out for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Janigo?
I believe the city has been funding the MGCO for the past couple years for the parade. I think the MGCO does some great work. Maple Grove Days really drive traffic to our city, and I think this is an important thing that for our city to move forward. So we do see a huge uptick in business activity in our city during that time, and it's just a really fun and engaging way for our residents to be out and to experience the city and all the amenities that we have here. So I'm open to discussing new ways with the organization to continue offering this institution that we've come to enjoy in our city.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I would say that any of our local partner organizations are great for the city. It takes a lot of time and energy to plan a lot of these events and to do a lot of the things that frankly, city staff and council members just don't have access and the ability to do. So a lot of our partner organizations are very valuable to our city, and we would not be the same without them. So we thank them.
Mr. Junis?
Yeah, I can't say I know a lot about it. Are they volunteer? Are they paid? Certainly, if they have a budget to work with, providing more opportunities for all the residents it's a fun community thing. There's a lot of communities that do a lot of fun things, and I go to those events, and it's really great. So yeah, I support all that.
Mr. Robbins?
I think organizations like this are phenomenal because they focus on the heritage and foster kind of community pride. And so they bring together organizations, people, and businesses. It's really important to want to be where you're at. It's important to have pride in the city that you belong to. It's important to be part of the community. These organizations help do that, and it instills and empowers people to care about the city, care about the people in it. So I would support it and also want to see how I can contribute in order to make them more successful. Thank you.
Mr. Stephenson?
You know, the Maple Grove Community Organization has been a great organization throughout the time that I've been on the city council. Its principal function is probably to help with Maple Grove Days and to really help run the parade and do other things related to those days. And so, you know, we're going to continue to work with them. We've helped support them in the past with staff, funding and helping them to raise funds when necessary. I know that a couple of years I helped raise some money for them so they could put on the functions that they wanted to put on. I think that it's important that we as a community use them. They're great volunteers. They deserve our thanks, and I think as a city we'll continue to do that.
And Mr. Samba.
Yes, indeed. It is vital to have in our community. I remember the University of Minnesota giving me the Paolo Ferrare International Community Service Grant. That justified the reason why we should have such organizations. Myself, I am part of the Maple Grove Community Organization. Right here, I'm offering stuff on a voluntary level. I'm not paid by the city. It is a must for all community members to be engaged in the city. They live, work, worship, and play. I believe such an organization needs to be better funded. Most importantly, our Maple Grove Museum and Conservatories we have. It has great values and a lot of things that many Maple Grove citizens don't know about the city in which they live. So I definitely do support that.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move into the final statements. Remember that one council candidate is not here. His name is Travis Mitchell. I'm sure if you do some searching, you can find a way to contact him and ask him your questions. The backup to his backup fell through, so that's why he's not here. So he really did try. So we're going to go in the reverse order in which we started. So your first 2-minute person is Mark Stephenson.
Thank you, and once again, thank you to the League for sponsoring this forum this evening. I look forward to representing and being your elected mayor over the next 4 years. I think that we will continue to see great growth within the community, in the residential communities that we have, but also in the business communities that we have. I look forward to expanding those communities in a way that's healthy for our city, healthy for our residents, and healthy for our children. I think we need to continue to work with the school district to make sure that our children are receiving the best education they can in our school system. And I think that most importantly, we need to continue as a city to develop those projects that help our citizens in their daily lives. And that means, how do we improve the transit system? How do we improve the roads so you can get to and from wherever you're going in a timely fashion and don't waste your time on the roads? We've worked hard on that over the years. We've improved a lot of our road systems through our specific work. A lot of people don't realize that we are the lead agency on most of the road projects that have happened in this city, whether it's County Road, Bass Lake Road, County Road 30, County Road Hemlock Lane. We've led those projects so that you can get around our community in a timely fashion. We'll continue to do so because that's important for our citizens. And also for our citizens, it's important to improve and revamp a place like the Maple Grove Community Center. And that's why the local option sales tax is very important this fall to vote yes. I'm a supporter of that. I think it's very important for our community to redevelop that community center. We have things we have to do. We have to invest in a new HVAC system. We can't have the facility being at 85 degrees on a summer day because our HVAC system doesn't work. We can't have those problems. You vote yes, we'll be able to solve those problems for our local option, through our local option sales tax.
Thank you. Mr. James Robbins.
My goal is to listen to the people in the community and be transparent in advocating for them and representing their interests. I want to listen to first responders and small business owners, business leaders, the businesses that are in the community, and see how I can facilitate to help them serve the community. Because I think that that's the most important part of our job here, is to serve the community and connect those parts to make everything work. I look forward to, if I was fortunate enough to serve you, into collaborating with the mayor and the current city council members, not to be to obstruct the current workings that are happening, but to see how I can add and contribute to the current developments and improve and bring new insight to everything that's going on. I don't want to impede successful projects. I don't want to make a name for myself. I want to serve the community, and that's what I'm here to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lauren Junis.
I feel the residents of Maple Grove have been very fortunate to experience great leadership throughout the years, and it's thanks to all of them that we live in this great community. As your conservative candidate, I want to uphold the core values of Maple Grove while increasing transparency via easy access information data set, helping better inform the residents what is happening in our local and extended government. We've kind of seen an example of transparency tonight, and check out my website. You can get an idea of what I think transparency looks like. With the city council seat now open, signing up to be a candidate and continuing the legacy of a well-planned developments, roadways, parks, community spaces is what I desire. Agendas are not part of my platform, rather stay the course supporting organic growth, rejecting pressure or inorganic growth ideas and concepts that could drastically change or harm the residents of Maple Grove presently or in years to come. One of my greatest concerns is electing council members that will fashion policies that will change Maple Grove with ideas that do not carry on Maple Grove tradition, rather trying to change beautiful Maple Grove into something different than what we currently have. Thank you for your vote consideration.
Ms. Rochelle Johnson.
I hope that what came through tonight first and foremost was my passion to serve Maple Grove, as I have been purposefully engaging in the lives of our residents for over 12 years. I will be a city leader who understands and prioritizes the main roles of local government. I will seek to monitor city spending to keep government focused, small, transparent, and accountable. I will seek to keep us on the path to provide high-quality city services and prioritize the 4 tenets of public safety, culminating with fully supporting and funding our police department for now and in the future. I will also prioritize thoughtful development that seeks to attract and retain residents and businesses. In addition, I support investment in and protection of our parks, trails, wetlands, and lakes, along with all of the recreation offerings, understanding that these areas are crucial to our residents' quality of life and also attracts tourism, which supports our local economy. When we work alongside each other as respectful and responsible residents, we will keep our city growing in the right direction. I'm hopeful and excited about the future of Maple Grove, and I ask for your vote to represent you on the City Council. Thank you.
Ms. Christy Janigo.
Whether you're new to Maple Grove or have been here for generations, we're lucky to have such a safe and beautiful home. And to keep it that way, we've got some work to do. To protect our waters and forests, to keep all our neighborhoods safe and secure, promote inclusion for all residents, keep our community age-friendly, and make sure first-time home buyers can plant roots here. That's why I'm running. As a veteran, a graduate of Maple Grove Citizens Police Academy, and part of one of our active faith communities, I share our core values. And I just want to talk a little bit more about public safety. So because of my prior military service and my brother's career in law enforcement, public safety is personal. On the campaign trail, I've been talking about 3 T's of public safety: trust, training, and technology. A strong bond of trust between our first responders and the public. Cutting-edge skills training, but also peer mentoring after a critical incident. Technology for efficient and safe policing and firefighting. As I've been talking with residents on their doorsteps, I've heard new ideas about how you want your roadways funded, ways to control speeding, how you would like to see the city involved in treating our surface waters, your vision for the future of the fire department as we grow in population, and ideas for park and rec programming. I'm ready to put my energy and fresh perspective to work for you, because you deserve compassionate, responsive city leadership. I'm Christy Janigo, your neighbor for Maple Grove City Council.
Ms. Karen Jager.
First of all, we must be sensitive to the needs of all our citizens to make positive things happening within our community. I will work with the mayor, council, commissions, and staff, as I have in the past 24 years, to help guide growth and development within our community. We not only need honest and integrity, but committed, hardworking council members, and that I will again bring to the City Council. I will continue to support more industry and business to help strengthen our economic development and provide more job opportunities. I will keep focus on crime prevention by working with the police and fire departments and on keeping our cities safe, along with supporting the DARE program in schools and Night Out on Crime. Tree preservation is also in my long-term plans, along with keeping our beautiful lakes clean and safe along with our trails. Most importantly, about keeping a balanced budget and keeping taxes down. By re-electing me, Karen Jager, to the City Council, I will continue to be a committed worker for all the people of Maple Grove. Thank you for inviting me here tonight, and I would appreciate your vote on November 8th.
Thank you. And Mr. Samba Fall.
Thank you, the League of Women's Voters. Most importantly, thank you to all the residents of Maple Grove. As I just make my journey through many, many homes and neighborhoods, I found my city extremely vibrant, extremely welcoming. It is time for the city of Maple Grove to heal. It is time for the city of Maple Grove to really embrace life. I would like to really create a better Maple Grove police and community partnership because this nation is really hurting. We would like to see more training of better police officers with regards to mental health, where we have a great county that has readily available resources to help. I would really also like to see more diverse Maple Grove police and also to reflect the city it protects and love and serve. As a father, I intend to make Maple Grove my refuge. I intend to make Maple Grove the city in which my children, along with many, many children in the community, will grow up and remain. I would really like to ask for your vote to reflect the many, many faces that are missing in making Maple Grove and keeping Maple Grove the great city it is. It is long time overdue for a city that is almost close to being 80,000 to have a board that doesn't reflect all the city residents living here, working hard, bringing their own income, sleeping here, working here, and want to be part of the variety of Maple Grove community organization that has a wonderful job to do for the face of the community. I am extremely blessed and honored to be in Maple Grove. I'm extremely honored to be in the United States as somebody who was not born and raised, and I'm ready not only to sell the legacy of America, but to show that in the city of Maple Grove, you might not be born or raised, you might not be having English as your first language, but we will open the door for you to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters for Brooklyn Park, Osseo, and Maple Grove, I would like to thank the candidates for agreeing to participate in tonight's forum. I would like to thank the voters for attending and participating by submitting excellent questions, and I would like to thank the viewing audience as well. Remember that if we could not get to your question tonight, or if you have further questions for the candidates, we invite you to contact them directly with your concerns. Candidate information will also be available on vote411.org. Please remember to get out and vote November 8th, as your vote truly counts. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.